Hello. My name is Mr. Arthur. And I am so excited to meet you. I am fun, friendly, and a bit nerdy. I am passionate about shaping your bright young minds. I'm about to put the excitement back into learning. So expect to learn a ton of great things. Before we start, I give you 5 seconds to subscribe to our channel, Smart Panda Club. So, we can meet again in our next class. If you like my class, give us a thumbs up. And comment below for any suggestions. So let's get started on the stellar learning journey. What's the difference between a mountain and a hill? Mountains are larger than hills, and mountainsides are often steep and tough to climb, unlike a hill's gentle slopes. Some experts say that if a peak is more than 600 meters higher than the surrounding land, then it is a mountain. Any less, and it is a hill. A molehill is a tiny pile of soil which, like a mountain, rises steeply above the surrounding land. About a quarter of all land on Earth is mountainous. Can spacecraft measure mountains? Radar equipment is used to measure mountains, big bouncing sound signals off the ground. Machines record the time the signals take to bounce back, then use this to work out how high the mountain is. The radar is carried on board high-flying airplanes and space satellites. A row of mountains is called a range. The top of a mountain is called its peak or summit. Even though a mountain may be a long way from the sea, its height is worked out as the distance above the sea's surface, sea level. Where is the world's highest mountain? The highest place in the whole world is at the top of Mount Everest. This vast mountain is in the Himalayan ranges of Central Asia, and it rises to 8,848 meters above sea level. Although only 4,205 meters of Mauna Kea stick up above sea level, this Hawaiian mountain is even taller than Everest. From its base on the ocean floor to its peak, Mauna Kea is an amazing 10,203 meters. The world's longest mountain range on land is the Andes, in South America, at about 7,200 kilometers long. There are even larger mountains in space. Olympus Mons on Mars is 3 times higher than Everest. Do mountains move? They certainly do. Earth is a bit like a giant, round egg, with a shell called the crust, then a layer called the mantle and a core in the middle. The crust is cracked, like an eggshell made from 30 or so gigantic pieces called plates. The plates float about very slowly on top of the mantle, because it's partly melted, like treacle. The plates that carry North America and Europe are floating apart by about 4 centimeters each year. How do mountains form? Although the plates that make up the Earth's crust move incredibly slowly, their movements are powerful enough to make mountains. Different movements give birth to the 3 main kinds of mountain: volcanic, block, and fold. Volcanoes are openings in the crust where fiery clouds of hot ash, gas and red-hot runny rock called lava spit out. Most volcanic mountains form as lava and ash and cool into layer upon layer of solid rock. Why do some mountains have pointed tops? Even while a mountain is forming, the weather, ice, and running water start to wear it away and carve its top into sharp points. The wearing away is called erosion. The wind carries grit and sand which work like sandpaper, slowly rubbing rocks away. Block mountains form when part of the crust is squeezed up between two cracks called faults. Fold mountains form as two plates slowly crunch into each other, pushing the crust up into bumps and loops. Why do volcanoes blow their tops? A volcano begins deep inside the earth as bubbles of gas and liquid rock called magma. This mixture slowly rises because it is lighter than the solid rock around it. As it pushes its way up, it gets squashed and squeezed. The pressure builds up and up until the gas and magma explode through a weak place in the Earth's crust, making the volcano erupt and blow its top. The effect of gas and magma erupting from a volcano is a bit like what happens when you shake a fizzy drinks bottle, and then take off the cap. When magma hits the surface, it is called lava. Are all volcanoes dangerous? There are three main kinds of the volcano, and they can all be dangerous. Active volcanoes erupt fairly often. Dormant volcanoes sleep quietly for years but erupt every now and again. Extinct volcanoes have stopped erupting and are unlikely to erupt again, if we're 6% very lucky. The ancient Romans believed a god of fire lived beneath a volcanic island off the Italian coast. They called the god Vulcanus, and that's where our word volcano comes from. Sometimes magma gases explode through side tunnels called vents. Which was the noisiest volcano? When Indonesia's Krakatoa blew its top in 1883, the roar of the explosion was heard more than an eighth of the way around the world, as far away as Sri Lanka, the Philippines and Central Australia. Which mountains grow into islands? There are thousands of tiny islands dotted through the world's oceans, and most of them were made by volcanoes slowly growing up from the ocean floor. With its bottom 11,033 meters below sea level. The world's longest mountain range is nearly the world's deepest valley all underwater. It's called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, is the Mariana Trench in mid-Atlantic, and it stretches for about 16,000 kilometers, the Pacific Ocean. The ridge from Iceland almost to Antarctica. Can mountains sink? Yes, an atoll is a ring-shaped island that can form around the rim of a sunken volcano. The atoll is made from limestone, and the limestone is made by tiny sea creatures called coral polyps. The water in the middle of a coral atoll is called a lagoon. What are black smokers? Black smokers are strange chimney stacks that build upon the ocean floor and belch out steamy black clouds of boiling hot water. All kinds of weird and wonderful animals live near them, including red and white worms as long as cars. Why do mountains have snow on top? Not all mountains have snow on top, only the highest ones. That's because when water gets very cold, it freezes and turns into snow or ice, and the higher you go up a mountain, the colder it gets. The place where a mountain begins to be covered in snow is called the snowline. The higher you go up a mountain, the windier it gets. Winds can howl at over 300 kilometers per hour at the top of the Himalayas. For every 300 meters you climb up a mountain, the temperature drops by about Tc. When does snow move as fast as a racing car? Sometimes on high mountains, a mass of snow will suddenly slip and begin to slide downhill. This is an avalanche. The worst avalanches hurtle downwards like racing cars, at more than 160 kilometers per hour. Can snow move mountains? Snow and ice can crack and break rocks, slowly wearing away the mountains. The most powerful mountain movers are glaciers. These massive blocks of snow and rock form high in the mountains and flow downhill like vast frozen rivers, carving out valleys. Glaciers carve out U-shaped valleys. V-shaped valleys are formed by rivers. Why don't plants grow on mountain tops? The top of a high mountain is one of the coldest, windiest places on Earth, and plants hate it. Plants need water, sunlight, and soil they can get their roots into. Take these things away, and plants give up and die. Rivers and melting snow wash soil down off mountain tops, so the higher you go the thinner the soil is. Which plants grow on mountainsides? Large trees can't survive up towards the snow line, but alpines are small, ground-hugging plants that have developed ways of beating the poor soil and bad weather. The world's oldest known tree lives in the White Mountains of California, USA, and its bristlecone, and it already had 4,700 birthdays. How do mountain plants keep warm? Some alpine plants such as Edelweiss have hairy leaves that work like an animal's furry coat to keep them warm. Others such as gentians have very dark leaves and flowers because dark colors attract more of the sun's warmth than light ones do. The toughest kinds of trees are conifers such as pine trees, but even they cannot grow on high slopes. Plants cannot take in water if it is frozen as ice or snow. Which plant can melt snow? Like many plants, the alpine snowbell disappears underground in the winter. When new shoots start to push up through the snow in spring, they give off enough heat to melt their way through.